you mentioned that you was friends with Basquiat, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yeah.
How do you even meet him? Because of my understanding, he's from the East Coast. He's from New York.
Yeah, well, that was the he was doing his first LA show with this art dealer named Larry Gagosian, and Matt worked for Larry Gagosian's art gallery, and I worked down the street on La Cienega at Eureka Cantor Gallery. And so when Jean Michele was coming into town, he was only like 23 years old. Like he was a kid when he first came to town. So he was super young. He was doing his first show. He didn't know anybody in LA. So Larry told Matt and I was probably like 21 or 22. You know, we were like kids. They were like, I had to pick him up at the airport. He doesn't drive. He needs somebody to drive him around. And Matt had met him before. Like he knew they had some mutual friends. But yeah, I just knew him from the art world. And yeah, and then when I met him, we got along like whatever. We both smoked pot. He loved movies, and we hung out and had the best time ever. And he just loved to go out to clubs and loved music and dancing, and yeah, so we would all hang out. He was, yeah, and I was at the time, I worked in a gallery. I was with somebody I was with a painter, so he with the whole LA art scene. So yeah, it was like kind of showing him around.
Wow.
But I made a film about Basquiat. I made the documentary called The Radiant Child, you know, Jean Michele Basquiat, The Radiant Child. And that has all my footage in there.
Yeah, yeah. Now I wanted to ask you about that documentary because that was my first introduction to him and his life and his work. Like I believe most people. And when I seen it, it just blew me away. And then to see where his name and his art is at now, how do you feel? That was maybe 15 years ago, but like you said, you met him in the 80s. What's your perspective on all of that, seeing it grow, his
Well,
legacy?
I think like, you know, when we were young and, you know, whatever, he really thought he was going to be like the next Picasso. Like he totally thought he was going to be famous. And I loved that confidence, and his work was really good, but it was also like nothing nobody had ever seen before. Like it wasn't like, oh yeah, that looks like other things you see. And no, he was doing something very unique, but it looked like New York. It looked like the streets. It looked like our world, you know, whatever. You could see where his influences were. So I feel like, and I was friends with him all the way to the very end. Like I saw him 2 weeks before he died. He wasn't keeping in touch with many of his friends because he really felt that a lot of his friends had betrayed him because they would sell his work or they tried to profit off their relationship with whatever the reasons were. He got, and he got very paranoid at the end when he was so famous. And he was doing drugs, which was just awful. And so, yeah, so what makes me sad is towards the end, he thought his career was over. He thought, I peaked, that was it. He did a show, he did a show with Andy Warhol that he thought was going to be like huge, and everybody criticized it and they put him down and they were like, it didn't go over the way he thought. And then they criticized his last show. And he was an artist. He was sensitive. He really took that to heart. And it broke my heart that he really believed what people say. I mean, imagine nowadays with social media, but even then it's like, if with the critics are saying these things about you, as much as you believe they thought you were the next whatever Picasso, you're going to also believe that when they say you're whatever washed up. And so, yeah, when I saw him before he died, he thought it was like he didn't know what was next. Like thought it was over. And I was like, no, like I just was like, no, my God, you're da 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 da. I thought like if he stayed alive, he would be a filmmaker. He had so many amazing, fun things, whatever. He was a genius. But that's the thing that I think is the heartbreaker is he was right. He really was the next Picasso. He really was the most famous American artist right now in history. He really is. His paintings sell the most money of anybody, and nobody believed him. And then he believed what nobody else believed at the very end and just let drugs take him, you know, so that he can numb that voice that told him he wasn't what he used to think that he was. So it just was heartbreaking. So I tried to put that emotion across in the film, that how devastating. Because yeah, when you see his paintings and what a big impact. Yeah, who knows if he could have taken it though. He's an art, whatever artist. It's hard for you to just keep making work and then think that people could just criticize your work and stuff. It's just terrible. So it's hard.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed. I appreciate you sharing that because his story is just so empowering. Like you say, if he was still around, you only can just imagine a fraction of the creative force that he would have influence on in hip hop and the art world and maybe music and
He
clothes.
brought hip hop to LA. Like he was the first person. It's like it's in a film on the Rhythm Lounge. He brought Ram LZ and Toxic when he came. He brought those two guys with him. Now that's insane. So those guys went to a club in LA, and it was filmed by Solomon. It was called at the Rhythm Lounge, and it was the first time we heard that music, and it was because Jean Michele got here. And like that to me is like, so that's important to our culture as people from LA or whatever. Like that's huge. Because that from there, just it got bigger and whatever, it became West Coast, East Coast, but it had to get here somehow. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
trace it to that moment. Yeah.
Right. It could have changed history. So I'm thankful for you sharing that.